Hello again, I'm Bob Weir with another interview of notable people in North Texas. My guest today is Texas State Representative Tan Parker, representing House District 63. Thank you for being here, Representative Parker.
My honor, Bob. Thanks for having me.
And the purpose of this interview is to inform viewers how they can help the flood victims in South Texas. So if you would please give our viewers an update on the situation after Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I mean, it's a horribly devastating situation down there in South Texas. Frankly, obviously the largest storm that really hit the country up to that point. The level of displacement is unparalleled. I mean, literally tens of thousands of homes are currently underwater. We all have friends and family down there that are trying to literally get out from that situation right now. People are very concerned about flood insurance, whether or not they had flood insurance or not, whether or not, if they did have flood insurance, is it adequate? They're worried about their employers, but those employers are having difficulty operating as well as normal. And just life, as we really take for granted every day, has really dramatically changed for the folks down in South Texas. So from Houston to obviously Rockport to Victoria to Corpus Christi to folks obviously as far up as the Woodlands, and folks obviously devastated in areas like the Woodlands and Galveston County. So it's just an extraordinary, devastating situation. And first and foremost, I think the folks down there need our prayers, but we also need to continue to be actively involved in supporting the relief efforts. This is not going to be a sprint. It's not something, Bob, that's going to be resolved in a matter of a couple of days or a few weeks. It's going to take us, candidly, many years to rebuild.
Oh yeah, it's a long marathon. Sure.
Absolutely, and I have every confidence in the resilience of the people of Texas that will rebuild South Texas in a way that would make Texas proud and would be bigger and better than ever before. But it's going to be a long process, and I want folks to know the significant seriousness of it and the impact that we'll have in so many different aspects of our life.
Let's talk about the amount of money the federal government has allocated for flood victims. What is that amount about?
Well, right now they just passed, if you will, about a $15 billion package to initially start getting the money to flow. I had the privilege of being last week in Beaumont on the ground with Governor Abbott, visiting with the county judge of Jefferson County, which is Beaumont, with the mayor of Beaumont, the superintendent of schools down there, the sheriffs, all of the various first responders, and hearing firsthand what is happening, what is occurring. And what the number one message that they talked about over and over again was the importance of streamlining these dollars. And the governor was very focused on that. He's put in place now a person to be full-time, effectively dedicated to this process. We call him the czar, if you will, of rebuilding Southeast Texas. And that's the Chancellor of Texas A&M, John Sharp. And so the focus for John, the focus for the governor, the focus for the legislature, and I heard it, right there working alongside Governor Abbott last week, was the absolute necessity of streamlining these dollars to make certain that bureaucratic processes don't slow down getting the need to the people that really, truly have a great need for it right now.
It's a massive organizational effort to get that, I'm sure, to get that aid down there. Now, you said $15 billion. Of course, that's only a real small amount compared to what is ultimately needed.
Sure.
The double tragedy is that Hurricane Irma followed on, and now there's some massive amount of funds needed for them as well. So
absolutely,
this is going to be a long time before all of these things are healed.
No, it's an unparalleled situation, Bob. We've never seen anything like this. Two storms of this magnitude hitting the country at the same time, effectively.
So I've heard numbers of well over $100 billion will be needed just for the Houston area, the South Texas area flood victims, something to that nature. By the way, what types of assistance is provided by disaster relief funds? I know it provides food, I guess clothing, or there's places for people to stay, living.
Yeah, that's principally it. Is a lot of these emergency shelter operations, and like you said, food and water, the basics, trying to get people to stand back up on their feet. Then there's a bigger whole discussion about how do you go about the rebuilding process, meaning with all these thousands of homes that are affected, the reality is, do you try to go and restore all these homes on an individual basis to their glory the way they were all at one time, which is a very timely process, and so you get people, therefore they're going to be in temporary shelters longer? Or do you take a phased approach that says, let's go and take out all of the destroyed, if you will, contents, the sheetrock, the carpeting, the flooring that's gone bad. Make sure that we treat for mold and make sure the homes are safe before you do all of the finish out to make these homes, if you will, back to the way they were. You take a phased approach so that you have the ability to be able to get more of these folks out of temporary shelters and back into their home more rapidly. So
Well, how much
all
of
these
that-
kind of discussions we're looking
How
at.
much of that responsibility is on the part of the insurance companies to do that?
Tremendous amount is the responsibility of the insurance company, no question about it, right? I mean, first and foremost, if you think about the lines of defense, obviously the federal government is down there providing support and resources. Obviously the state government is providing support and resources. But the private insurance companies, obviously right now, are the ones that we're waiting and really dependent on to see just how enormous the cost and price tag are going to be. And what it looks like to ultimately be able to restore everybody down there.
But I understand that about 80% of the people down there don't have flood insurance.
And that's the tragedy down there right now, is that a lot of folks, I don't know what the number is, I hear different stats about,
Well,
you know,
maybe-
those that do or don't.
Yeah.
But certainly it's an enormously high figure that do not. And then for those that do have flood insurance, frankly, on homes that are more expensive homes, flood insurance is a cap at $250,000 and $100,000 of basically contents.
Yeah.
So that becomes a real problem, even for folks that were in, you know, more expensive housing and so forth. The cash crisis that will really come as a result of that is very, very challenging as well. So there's just so many challenges right now, so many issues that we don't really have definitive answers to, just because it's only been now, obviously, a few weeks. We need to get a little further down the road before we know what this is going to cost.
So,
You-
no, people have to apply for these funds though, right? I mean, how do they do that? Is there I guess there are forms that they would fill out to apply for them? or-
Yes, and the federal government will provide those types of formats, not just in a traditional old paper style, but obviously online access and so forth for folks to be able to go and to be able to put forth what their damages are, just like they're doing right now with the insurance companies. And so, you know, right now, you know, candidly, you know, we're just really ending the rescue phase, right? I mean, there are still people that we worry still that need to be rescued from
Absolutely.
various areas in these disaster areas that are particularly hard hit. So
And we don't want people to think that this is over because you're now hearing so much about Hurricane Irma and the devastation in Florida, but still, there's floods down there and people are still devastated and without their homes. So what are some of the relief agencies people should donate to?
Sure. Well, look, there are a lot of great ones out there. I mean, you know, the American Red Cross, of course, the Salvation Army have been standards for this country and dealing with these kind of crises over the years. You'll have folks sometimes that have said there's been some disappointment in the way that the Red Cross has performed. I can't speak to that one way or the other than the fact that, you know, historically they've been a wonderful organization. I think they will get the job done. It's a very, very difficult circumstances which they're working. But I think there are other organizations that are excellent as well, like Samaritan's Purse, for example.
I heard about that, yes.
Samaritan's Purse, I think, is an excellent, you know, one that people can give their private donating, if you will, efforts to be able to help a great cause there too. So, you know, the reality is that, you know, folks need to be careful in that regard. You know, there are obviously, unfortunately, people who take advantage of the situation. There'll be various fraud schemes and so forth. So I just really encourage people to really investigate thoroughly before they make a donation to make certain that they are actually giving dollars to a reputable organization.
Right, but don't hold back on giving the donations.
No, absolutely,
because,
absolutely.
You know, whatever they may think, I'm sure the overwhelming majority goes to the victims.
Look, that's my point, absolutely. I mean, the American Red Cross, like I said, is a wonderful organization. So is the Salvation Army, and so many others do great, great things. I just think Samaritan's Purse is another excellent, large-scale, you know, organization that has the ability to deliver relief there on the ground across all of Southeast Texas, and
way-
frankly, Florida as well.
Have you been to the affected areas?
I have, absolutely, and I'll be back again next week. So, you know, recently I took down, we had about 160,000 pounds of supplies
Right.
from Denton County. The good people of Denton County have donated.
Truckloads, you were taking truckloads?
Truckloads.
down
We
and-
had, you know, 3.5 18-wheeler loads we've taken down, and I did that in concert with my Denton County Republican colleagues. So, you know, Ron Simmons and
Sure.
Lynn Stuckey and Pat Fallon and our sheriff here in the area as well.
It
Tracy
sure
Murphy.
looks like, well, we've had great cooperation from the governor's office, the lieutenant governor. I've seen them constantly on the major stations leading the way, and so have the House and Senate members. And incidentally, you want to tell people in your your district constituents where they can go drop off any supplies?
Absolutely. Let me just comment first about that. I'm very, very proud of what's taking place. I'm very proud of the effort coming from the President's administration. President Trump's administration has been exceptional, along with Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor, all of our emergency first responders down there doing a wonderful job. The local county judges, the mayors that are affected are doing amazing work.
Oh, I agree.
Right?
I've seen
it's,
it.
it's exceptional, and we're continuing to go and collect supplies. So I want folks to know that are listening here to our interview today, Bob, that we are continuing to collect specifically cleaning supplies right now. We've taken down food and water and clothing, but we're now focused on getting cleaning supplies to the people down there. And we're doing so actually through Monday at noon, collecting at my office and the other Denton County reps and the sheriff's office. I'll be then going back down with our friends from Peterbilt donating trucks
And you're
on Tuesday to the affected
And
areas.
your
once more.
office is at 800 Building in Parker Square?
Absolutely, Bob.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say, as we wrap up, thank you very much, Representative Parker, for taking time to be here on your busy schedule, and thanks for all you do for Texas.
No, Bob, it's my privilege. Thank you so much for letting us let
Thank
the
you.
folks know what they can do and how they can help. So,
Thank you.
fellow Texans in need. So,
And thank you for watching.